Hey guys, how's it going and welcome to this bonus lesson. So 6 days ago, Miguel, who is a student from this course, sent me a message and says, "Hello Kelvin, I'm wondering if you could add something that explains how to save in user defaults the last location that the user insert in the app. Because every time the app relaunches, it goes to the normal setting." So I believe what Miguel is saying is that, hey, if the user searches for a certain city, can we cache that so that when the app is relaunched, we see the previous city that was being searched for? Or if the user decides to get the current location of the city that he's in, if he is to close the app and relaunch that again, can we show the previous city that was being displayed? Alright, so I hope that I'm reading this correctly. So let's get started. Okay, so as you can see over here, under this weather view controller in the view deload function, we are fetching this weather and we have hard-coded Boolean to it. Okay, so we want to be able to cache this city. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is to come over to the manager folder and let's create a new file over here. And this will be a Swift file, and let's call this maybe a storage manager, or maybe let's call this cache manager. Okay, cache manager. Let's hit the create button, and then this can be a strut because we don't need this to be a reference type. So let's call this cache manager. And then, so for this cache manager, I'm going to do two things. I need to be able to store and I need to be able to retrieve. All right. So the first function, let's call this cache city. Okay. And then the next function will be get cached city. All right. And because this city will be of type string, so I'm going to make this a string optional. And the reason is because if the user is to run the app for the first time, when we do a get cache city, we're not going to get any, and therefore this should return a nil. All right. So in the meantime, I'm just going to return nil so that the Xcode will stop complaining. Okay. So I need to add some kind of object over here that will be able to save this to the user defaults. So maybe I'm going to call this a void. All right, I know it sounds a bit too serious, but I think it sounds kind of cool. So maybe let's call this user defaults.standard. All right, so if we want to cache the city, I think we need to pass in a city name, which is of type string. And then I'm going to do something like void dot set. Okay, so it looks like I don't have a string. I can set a URL, a boolean, a double, float, and integer, but I don't have a string, which is kind of strange because string is probably the most common. We have any, so we have to kind of do a casting. So I'm going to select this one over here. So I'm going to set a city name for key. All right, so I have to pass in a key to identify the values that I want. So maybe I'm going to create an enum over here. So I think this would be a lot better. So let's call this key, and this will inherit string. So maybe let's call this city. Okay, so I'm going to call this key.city.raw value. Okay, so now so when I want to cache the city, I want to save that city into the user defaults. I'm going to call this function and pass in this city name. But if I want to retrieve the cache city, then I have to do something like void dot get, do I get or value for, yeah, I have to use something like that. So value for key, so I'm going to select this one over here, and for the key I'm going to use the same one over here. So key.city.raw value, and I have to return. Okay, but notice that this value, if I do a alternate click on this returns an any. So what this means is that I have to cast this. All right, so it will be as string. All right, so this is the secret sauce, I believe. So let's come to the part where we do the API call, which is in the weather manager. Okay, so this is the part that I want to add this cache manager over here. So let's come over here and let's do private let cache manager equals to cache manager. Let's initialize this. So I'm going to come to the part to the handle request. Okay, so this is the part where we pass in the city, okay, through the URL string, and then we will make an API call to the open weather API. And then if we are to return a failure case, then I don't think we want to cache that, okay? But if we return a success case, then we are interested to cache this city instead, okay? So let's do cache manager, okay, dot cache city. Okay, and let's pass in the city name, and I believe we can get the city name from the model itself. So let's do model dot do we have it? Model dot, let's see, model dot, do we have anything over here? Country name. Is that what we want? Let me just quickly have a look. Alright, so I think this is correct. Let's come back again, and then I'm going to come to the weather view controller, and in the view did load, I'm going to get city. Let city, okay, so maybe before that, I'm going to initialize the cache manager over here. So cache manager equals to cache manager. Okay, and then I'm going to say let city equals to cache manager dot get cache city if it's available. Otherwise, maybe let's do something like that over here. Okay, let's call this private let default city equals to Berlin. Okay, let's make this a constant instead. Okay, default city. And then I'm going to say, hey, if we cannot find a cached city, then let's default this to the default city, okay? And then I'm just going to pass in the city right over here. Okay, I think that this should work. So let me just quickly test this out, okay? So I'm going to click on the play button to run the simulator. All right, it looks like something has failed. Okay, I think that's because I have to add a self over here. So let me just quickly do that again. Alright, build succeeded. So I'm running this app for the first time, so I have Berlin over here. So maybe let's enter a new city this time. So let's go with Singapore because this is where I am. Let's hit the search button. It's definitely going to be successful. Alright, so now for me to test whether this works, I'm going to just queue the app. Okay, I'm going to swipe out and I'm going to click on this app again. And this time I believe I should be in Singapore, right? So let me just see. Yep, so I'm in Singapore. And if I want to make sure that this is really happening, let me just queue the app one more time. Can I do that? I can't. Why is that so? Not sure. Okay. Okay, this is hard. Come on, guys. Okay, this is so strange. Okay, so I think I'm gonna do it this way instead. Okay, so under the weather view controller, I'm gonna put a breakpoint over here. Okay, so let me just quickly run this one more time. I believe this should also work. So we're gonna land on the breakpoint, and then what I can do is that I can do a PO over here, and I'm gonna type in city. So I have Singapore over here. So let me resume this, and now if I'm to search for another place called Perth, so let me hit the search button again. Okay, if I'm to rerun the app one more time, I believe I should also land on line 37. If I do PO and I type in city, I should see Perth over here. So as you can see, the caching is working. Alright, so the other place that I want to make sure that this is working as well is if I'm to click on this location button. Okay, so I'm going to say allow once. Okay, so it's telling me that I'm in San Francisco for some reason. I don't know why. So I'm going to quickly hit the play button again, and of course we will land on the same breakpoint. And if I do a PO, I should see San Francisco. Alright, so let me just quickly do that. Okay, so I'm on the breakpoint right now. So PO, city, and I believe you should see San Francisco. Alright, Miguel, I hope that this video helps to solve whatever that you're doing. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next lessons. Alright, cheers, bye.